seeking a brighter future. David had always dreamed of traveling abroad. He constantly searched for information and guidance on how to qualify for opportunities in Western countries. He had heard stories about better living conditions, higher wages, and greater possibilities. The dream stayed with him for years. He prayed for it, worked hard for it, and carefully researched what he needed to do. Confident in his abilities, he often told his friends, "If I can survive in this country, I can survive anywhere." David believed he was ready. He was healthy, hardworking, and willing to take on any kind of task. His dream seemed close to becoming reality, especially because of his longtime friend, Peter. Peter had played a major role in fueling David's desire to travel abroad. David and Peter have been best friends since their school days. They sat together in class and shared almost everything. Peter's parents were somewhat well off, and his father was a businessman whose trading activities brought him into contact with many people. It was therefore not surprising that Peter left the country soon after graduating from the university. Despite moving overseas, Peter remained in contact with David. He often shared pictures of his travels to beautiful and exotic places. He posted photos of himself driving cars David could only dream of, and living in modern, well-furnished homes, surrounded by breathtaking landscapes. Each image strengthens David's desire to go where Peter was. One day, David pleaded with him, "Take me with you. Help me. If there is anything you can do for me as a friend, please help me come over to where you are. I promise I will not let you down." Peter promised to help as much as he could. True to his word, he assisted David through the process. When David finally arrived, Peter was at the airport to welcome him to his new country. 3 years later, David sat quietly in the corner of a bus, lost in memories of the past. The reality of immigrant life had been very different from what he had imagined. For many immigrants, there is a huge gap between expectations and reality. Highly skilled individuals often struggle to find work in their field, leading to disappointment and declining self-esteem. David had experienced many of these challenges himself. There were moments of deep loneliness and depression. At times, he felt isolated and encountered racism. Some of it real, some of it perceived. In many places, immigrants feel that the open arms welcome of the past has gradually faded. Daily experiences of xenophobia and the constant feeling of being an outsider can weigh heavily on their minds. Language barriers also make integration difficult. Without strong language skills, participating fully in the community or navigating services such as healthcare becomes an ongoing struggle. Over time, this can deepen feelings of loneliness. Another painful challenge for David was separation from his family. Being thousands of miles away from the people who knew him best created an emotional emptiness in his life. Phone calls and video chats could never replace the warmth of family gatherings, shared meals, and the comfort of being physically present with loved ones. His personal life also suffered. Working long hours just to survive left little time or energy for relationships. His love life became almost non-existent. Forming meaningful connections was difficult in a place where he often felt like an outsider. The pressure to work, pay bills, and sometimes send money home, left little room for companionship or emotional fulfillment. The emotional and mental impact grew heavier with time. Many immigrants like David experience a loss of self-worth when they find themselves working low-skill jobs that do not reflect their education or experience back home. Slowly, the feeling of not being good enough begins to creep in, eroding confidence and pride. As the months passed, David also began to notice that Peter was no longer around as much as he used to be. Phone calls became less frequent. Messages went unanswered for long periods of time. Eventually, David discovered the painful truth. Peter has been struggling with a serious addiction. Because of this, he could not maintain a steady job for long. Ashamed to face David, the friend who had looked up to him for long, Peter gradually withdrew. At some point, he moved to another part of the country. Whether out of shame, financial hardship, or simply because he could no longer afford to keep his phone active, contact between them slowly faded until it almost disappeared. For David, this revelation was heartbreaking. The friend whose success had inspired his dream was fighting his own hidden battles. It forced David to confront another reality. The lives people display abroad are not always the full truth. Behind the pictures of beautiful houses, expensive cars, and exotic vacations often lies a different story, one filled with struggle, sacrifice, loneliness, and survival. This was the hidden truth of imagination, and this was the hidden truth of immigration that many people back home rarely see. As David sat quietly on the bus that evening, he reflected deeply on the journey that had brought him here. The dream of a brighter future was still alive, but it no longer looked as simple or glamorous as it once had. Instead, it had become a story of endurance, of learning, adapting, and discovering that every journey carries both hope and hardship.